Welcome to the Science and Magic podcast, Vanashree. This has been a long time coming, and I am so excited to have this next 60 minutes or so to chat with you.
Yep. I am so happy to be on this platform, Amanda. What you're doing is amazing. And I truly am so glad that I'm a part of your journey. And I can share my knowledge with everyone on this platform. So thank you for inviting me.
And you have such a depth of knowledge and so much passion for what you do. So I'm excited to get into that.
Yes.
And before we do, one thing that I like to start with all my guests is from the reference of who you are versus what you do. And one of the ways I do that is by offering the question, what is something from your upbringing or your childhood that you would like to share with listeners to kind of tap them into your essence?
Yes, absolutely. So I could ramble on for hours and hours together, honestly. But one important thing as to why I came to Ayurveda is something that I would love to mention. My parents, I was obviously I'm from India. You can tell by my accent, the way I look. I'm from this amazing country called India, colorful, traditional, cultural. We have such depth of culture. Like there's this essence of culture in every bit of it. So obviously coming from a culturally rich background like this, helps me with whatever I do because my upbringing was very cultural. It was very, very traditional. My parents, though they have been entrepreneurs their entire lives, they had about 7 to 8 different companies, and they're all flourishing great still. Um, but they always maintained their cultural and traditional roots, even though now everything is westernized. Even the Asian countries are so westernized that you would not realize that it's India anymore. But this cultural traditional upbringing played a very important role. So this is what we call as sanskaras in Ayurveda. Sanskaras are nothing but the way you're brought up by your parents, and that matters a whole lot because your parents are a very integral part of your upbringing, because you learn from what they do, right? Not necessarily from what they're telling you to do, but just by watching them, because they're your first mentors, they're your first teachers. So yeah, a big part of me is my parents. Obviously my upbringing, I value my parents so much because probably their parents brought them up in a certain way. That's why I could be brought up in a certain way. So yeah, my mom and dad played a very big role in me choosing Ayurveda as my purpose of what I'm doing, or my purpose of life, literally, is what I call it. When I was in high school, obviously, like every other set of parents, they were like, what do you want to do with your life? Let's just sit down, have some serious discussion. And I was like any other high schooler, utterly confused, like no direction whatsoever. I was like, where should I go? What should I do? So my mom is a pediatrician in India, and she used to practice as a pediatrician. And my dad is an engineer, but they have a vision. They always had a vision into the future. They always knew what door might be the future, or what door might lead to the future. And they said, we really think that alternative medicine is going to be the future, because now Western medicine has reached a point where there are no answers available for so many different things. So they have to look at other modalities of treatment and see, are there answers there for some things that we don't know the answers for. So I thought to myself, and not just that, I've always been a very intuitive person. So I listen to my intuition. I always tell my clients, I tell everyone around me, listen to your intuition, because 99.99% of the times it's right. It's correct. It'll lead you in the right direction. As an intuitive person, there was something I did not know then what pulled me towards Ayurveda, but there was something maybe it's spiritual connection, because Ayurveda is a very spiritual and holistic science too. It's not just a scientific science. It is very much connected to the spirit, to the being, to the entire living aspect of us being alive, you know. So maybe it was that pulled me towards it, but something. And I was like, yes, Ayurveda, because this resonates and it's a science from India. And the first thing I wanted to do is to globalize it, is to spread it. And this was my first sentence that I told to my principal the first day of college. So our principal asks everyone, right? He comes in to our introduction class, and he says, okay, I'm your principal. Now introduce yourself and tell us why you're here. So I was like, I want to globalize Ayurveda. I want to spread this wealth of knowledge all around the world so that every single human being who is even ignorant about that such a science exists out there, you know, needs to know about this, because there are very few questions that Ayurveda cannot answer. Okay. So that was one thing, and that aspect, that cultural connection of my upbringing to my country and to my traditions and to my family, because I don't know, but Asian cultures are very family oriented. We live with our parents until we are almost married. Even after marriage, we live with our parents. So yeah, that cultural connection and that traditional upbringing is something that I really value in my, yeah, from my childhood.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's so beautiful. And I love how you spoke to your ability to follow your intuition, because I'm often asked how I got where I am today. And it
Yes.
hasn't been a linear path. It was one where I was following my intuition.
Yes.
And it has led me on the most beautiful spiral to having this platform called Science and Magic, which I could have never anticipated or
Yep.
logically thought up. So that
Mhm.
99.999%, there's truth to
So
that.
true.
And if you start,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you sharpen that sense, it just grows
Mhm.
and grows.
Yeah, it's your sixth sense is what I call it. Absolutely.
I love that. And I adore your passion for Ayurveda. This
Thank
is one
you.
of the reasons I can feel your heart when
Yes.
you talk about it. And it's
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on this podcast.
Mhm.
There may be some listeners who have never heard of Ayurveda.
Mhm.
How would you explain that to them?
Absolutely. So, for people who are very new to this science, the word Ayurveda itself can be broken down into two parts. So, Ayu and Veda, when you club them together, it becomes Ayurveda. Ayu means life, and Veda means science or knowledge. So when you again club them together, it becomes knowledge of life or science of life. So the word itself tells you that it is not just limited to the medicinal aspect, but it talks a lot about how to live a happy, healthy, balanced life. So it tells you like little tips and tricks on how to prevent diseases, because Ayurveda, more than a curative science, it is a very big preventative science. So we talk about so many different things and can avoid imbalances in the body, but you, if you're ignorant about them and you don't know up till now, and you have certain imbalances, and Ayurveda has so many tools to heal that as well. So it's a very comprehensive, very vast, holistic science is what I would say.
Yeah. And it's this, when we think of the platform Science and Magic, it
Mhm.
has this element of holistic science
Yes.
and syncing it with the earth, and
Yes.
also the magic of spirit, of looking
Oh, yeah.
at the unseen.
Yes.
And there's so much value and wisdom.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why I invited you on this podcast at this time is that we are stepping into the darker, colder half of the year.
Yes.
And you and I both live in Minnesota right now, and not all listeners do, but
Yeah.
something happens seasonally. And for some, this can be a difficult time,
Mhm.
either with the light or with the cold. And there
Mhm.
can be all sorts of imbalances present.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know for me, once I started learning some wisdom from Ayurveda, from traditional Chinese medicine, once I started embracing the season, I
Mhm.
have been able to find so much ease. And I actually look forward to this time of year. And so I'm hoping that
Right.
in this conversation, we can address some things to help listeners find a bit more ease. So the
Mhm.
first thing, from the lens of Ayurveda, how would you describe where we're in right now? And we're in mid-October, and
Mhm.
the air is getting crisp. The leaves are beautiful. They're starting to fall from the trees.
Mhm.
What earth elements and energetic themes are present?
Absolutely. So Ayurveda talks a lot about elements. Okay, as you said, elemental energies. We work with a lot of elements, and there's something called the elemental theory in Ayurveda, which we call as the Pancha Bhautik theory. Pancha means five, bhutas means elements. So Ayurveda says there are five elements, and all these five elements, there is nothing in the nature that can be devoid of the five elements, because uh, they have to have either of those five elements. Actually, all the five elements is just that the dominance of certain elements give it the right shape, the right form, or whatever we're talking about would be, those elements would be dominant in certain things. Now, from an Ayurvedic standpoint, there are five elements: earth, fire, water, air, and ether. Okay. Now, we work with a lot of something called as doshas. Doshas are nothing but functional principles in our body, and there are three. So think of it as a tripod on which your health stands. Okay. If any of these doshas are out of balance, your health is going to fall. So those are three, as I said: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Okay, now each functional principle is made of two elements each, and they would naturally possess the qualities of the elements that the doshas are made out of. Now, Vata is nothing but made out of air and ether. So it is very high in air and ether element. And now, where we are at right now is all about Vata. Okay. If you look closely around us, inside us, very intuitively, very subtly, if you are in tune with yourself, you will see you are all over the place. Like you're nothing's being in one place. You have so many thoughts. Your body is feeling the kick of the fall. It's just your mind, your emotions, your spirit. Because Ayurveda says for us to be healthy, we need to be healthy on all these levels or layers of existence. Okay. First is obviously our body, then our mind, our psyche, our emotions, our spirit. Okay. So all these levels are being affected by this vata outside that is creating this chaos in the environment. It's the same way creating chaos in our body. So you might feel you're getting more constipated, you're sometimes feeling hungry, sometimes you're not, sometimes like your hunger is all over the place. That is something that we call as agni in Ayurveda. So your digestive fire is all over the place. It turns very vishama, very irregular during this time of the year. Also, from an Ayurvedic standpoint, fall is a transitional season. Okay. It's not an actual season. So it's not a longer period of time where the season is steady and at a steady pace. No, it's not. It's a time. Fall is very short, isn't it? Spring is also very short. So whenever there are shorter seasons, your body is in a state of confusion, is what we call in Ayurveda. So your doshas, the functional principles that I mentioned right now, are not understanding where they're supposed to work, where they're supposed to calm down, when they're supposed to calm down, because Ayurveda says these functional principles have their own time of work during the day or during the night. Now, Vata, the specific time of Vata for working is early in the morning before 4 a.m. and say e early in the evening sometime. So if you're not balanced or focused during these times, it's very natural for you to not be balanced or focused, especially in the fall, because it's a very irregular season. It's all about irregularity and inconsistency. Okay. So these we were talking about vata. So this is a high vata season. Now, how is air and ether element? Air is always moving. right? It's always in the motion. So that's what air element in us does, is movement. Any movement that is happening in our body, pushing the stools out, urine out, sweat out, moving the things in your gastrointestinal tract, your circulation, your breath. Vata is responsible for so many integral important things in our body. Now, if this Vata is working in its own place at its own time, given that it's healthy and balanced in the right proportions in your body, it's not going to do any damage to your system. But the main thing about Vata to remember is it's the most powerful dosha, most powerful functional principle. The reason is because it possesses two important qualities. One is mobile. Vata is very, very mobile in your system. That is the only functional principle that keeps on moving constantly in your body, and it's never stable, it's never stationary. And the other is because Vata is made with air and ether element. Ether is nothing but space. Now space is something that we call as something devoid of anything. So there is nothing, but most of the times air and space live hand in hand, because anywhere there is emptiness, air will occupy it, unless it's a vacuum situation, but air will occupy it. So they go hand in hand. And there is an important quality of space called as subtle. Now, this subtle quality you'll see everywhere in the environment right now. Okay. The air is subtle. We call it subtle because it's so minute, it's so small that it can go to every nook and corner in your body. Similarly, air can go to every nook and corner outside as well. And that's why, because it's so minute, is why it's so powerful, because it can penetrate anything and everything that it wants to. Okay. And it's the same way in our body. It can literally go to our cellular level, cause cellular imbalances, hormonal imbalances. You can feel that during this time you have things like insomnia. So
Mhm.
many people are not able to sleep during this time. It's because of this high mobile element naturally being high in our body, because of the weather outside, because of the air element outside. Okay, so this is something about fall. We were talking about functional principles. The other two functional principles are pitta. Pitta is made of fire and water. And obviously, because it's made of fire and water, Pitta people would be really hot. They would be really hot in nature, hot, sharp, fiery, aim-oriented, goal-oriented human beings. Okay. Whereas a kapha person is more made of water and earth element. So out of all the five elements, water and earth element is the heaviest of all the five elements. So naturally, these people are the most stable, most soft-hearted, sweet-hearted human beings. They live for others. They just give and give and give and give, and they just cannot say no. Yeah, really, like, thick is another quality of kapha. Thick hair, dense, thicker bones. They naturally are larger human beings than compared to other constitutions. Um, so, as I said, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, these are three specific constitutions, is what we call in Ayurveda. So your constitution is your makeup of the functional principles that you're made of, and your constitution never changes. It's who you are for this lifetime. Okay. Now, Vata people who have high air and ether element, are usually very tall, skinny. They do not put on weight very easily. They lose weight very quickly too. They have thin hair, very, very always cold human beings. So maybe Minnesota is like the worst. The worst place to live in for a Vata person. Um, yeah, so Vata people mostly. So if you know your constitution, if you know who you are, it's easier for you to balance those energies out and do, like, tweak your diet or tweak your lifestyle in accordance with the season out there, so that you're in conjunction with the season outside and the things don't get messed up in your system. Um, so for a Vata person, fall can be extremely critical. It can be very, very challenging because they naturally have more air and ether element in them. So there are certain tips and tricks that a Vata person can use during this time.
Mhm. I'm thinking of that seasonal confusion, because
Mhm.
there is an element of truth to that. When I think of the fall, I think of the sound of wind. I think of leaves being blown off the trees.
Yes.
I think of movement, schedules kind of pick up,
Yes.
things start to feel like they get chaotic. And
Mhm.
yet there's this confusion of, I want to sleep a little bit longer,
Yes.
that my body starts to sink into rest. And yet
Mhm.
the outside world is swirling. So I can feel these two elements pulling on each other.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It's because of the cold quality. So Vata and Kapha share the quality cold. So air and ether element and water and earth element are always cold in nature. Okay. So during this time, not just Vata is high, the cold quality can sometimes aggravate the Kapha component in too. And Kapha is nothing but stability, right? So your Kapha will say, okay, so what happens is these functional principles try to balance each other out naturally as much as they can, okay? But if they're not able to, then you'll start seeing imbalanced symptoms of that functional principle. So say for instance, now if your vata is so high during fall that your body is not able to naturally balance it out, kapha will come to rescue. So the water and earth element will naturally come to rescue the air and ether element, and you'll see signs of kapha, like as you said, I want to sleep more because I just feel like I'm in the hibernating mode, right? I'm in the hibernation mode. I just want to rest. But there is so much high vata aggravation out there that vata is not going to let me rest, right? That vata is going to be, hey, kapha, move. Hey, water and earth element, I don't want you to overpower me right now. I am going to keep moving. Okay. So yeah, this conflict between doshas is very, very much possible during this time of transition. As I said, this fall is all about irregularity, inconsistency. It's all about confusion. So this season, yeah, these three words are like completely explain what fall is all about.
And I'm feeling into windy emotions would be like anxiety,
Yes.
worry,
Mm-hmm.
disorientation, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that when I know this stuff,
Yeah,
it helps me just be with it. Oh, I'm feeling
absolutely.
like I'm spinning around in a tornado today. And I
Yes.
can kind of giggle and just say, you know what? That's like, 'tis the season.
Uh-huh.
And there are some things that you can do from an Ayurvedic lens, foods you can eat, activities you can do to help soothe that Vata.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, what would you suggest, but especially
Yes.
for someone who has a Vata constitution, but just in general, what would help soothe that windiness during
Mm-hmm.
the season?
Yeah, so as I said, Vata, people who have high Vata air, high air and ether element in them are going to struggle the most during this time. And one important thing from an Ayurvedic lens that we tell for every individual, not just Vata, but more so for Vata, is to have a routine. Okay, no matter what season it is, but especially in fall, never ever go out of routine. If you do not follow a specific routine, you're actually giving that vata the chance to create havoc in your system. You're saying, hey, just go wild and do whatever you want in me. Okay, but if you do things on a routine, so what does routine look like? Waking up at the same time, eating your breakfast around the same time, eating your lunch, your dinner around the same time, working out around the same time, going to bed around the same time. Now, if you even do these 5 to 6 things on a routine, you will see humongous change in the level of your health during this time of the season, because then you're giving something something for to the vata to do in your body. You're saying, hey vata, it's time to eat. Hey vata, it's time to exercise. Hey vata, it's time to sleep. So you're constantly giving something, like something structured for the vata to be in a box or to be in certain type of systems in your body. Because if you're not, then the vata always wants something to do. Okay. And it's also the vata people who always want something to do. So for a vata person, it's really hard if I tell vata person to, like, okay, you're going to sit down and meditate for 20 minutes every day. It's like a punishment for them. Trust me, I'm not even kidding. It's like so torturous for a vata person to sit down and meditate, and especially during fall, because this is a high vata season. So yeah, just remembering that you are vata, can help. So knowing the reasoning behind why this is happening to me can sometimes empower you in the right direction. Like if you say Vata people are very, very anxious, and you can also feel that during this time, you can see that the leaves are going away from the tree, right? So there is also a big part of separation happening. So during this time you can feel that you're going away from things. I don't know how to explain this, but you'll feel this. You're doing everything, but you're not invested in whatever you're doing. So it's like this dryness or roughness coming into picture, where
Mhm.
you're like not feeling connected to things. Okay, there's this disconnection happening, and it's very, very common to for you to feel this way until we actually enter winter, where it's actually starts snowing, or like where we live in Minnesota. But unless you actually enter a stable season, you won't feel stability in your system. So knowing that anxiety is normal during this time of season, but doing things to soothe that vata is going to be very, very beneficial. So Ayurveda works on the principle like increases like and opposites balance. Okay, so we work with a lot of qualities of things, and we have these 20 set of 10 qualities, like 20 qualities in total that we work with. Okay, so the qualities that are more pronounced during this time are dry, rough, mobile, cold, okay, subtle. Um, so these are all the qualities that you would see outside in the nature. This disconnection, this going away from things, things being taken away from you, so it's it's this overwhelming feeling of too many things crowding together, or there is nothing to do. You know, it's like people who love sunlight, people who love outdoors really struggle hard during this time of year because it's getting cold. You cannot go outside for walks as you would step out anytime during summer, right? It's not that easy. You have to put on everything. It's so much work. So yeah, absolutely. This can be a really challenging season until our body, our mind, our emotions, our soul, our spirit, everything realizes the fact that things are changing. And until we enter winter, that does not happen, because that vata doesn't let anything settle in your body, mind, or emotions. So one quick tip, as I said, routine is going to be very crucial. And then second is introducing healthier fats in your diet is going to be very crucial, because fats are heavy. Okay, fats are grounding, fats are oily, fats are exactly opposite to what vata is, and exactly opposite to what is going on outside in the nature right now. So focusing more on warming hearty soups with cooked in ghee or olive oil, or eating more avocado sprinkled with some yummy spices, or eating some grounding foods like warm sweet potato or warm pumpkin soup, or warm, you know anything that is seasonal right now outside is so beneficial. So, but you just have to tweak it. Now, fall is a very apple season, but Ayurveda actually says apples are very vata aggravating. So, because they're crunchy, they're so airy, they're light, apples would aggravate vata. But if you know the right way to eat apples, so if you bake them, stew them, cook them, that's why we do apple pies and we don't eat raw apples during this time. So baking them, stewing them, adding some spices so that it becomes warming in your body, like cardamom, cinnamon. You see, right? All the recipes this time will have cinnamon in it, right? There is a reason to everything. Why these spices during this time? Because cinnamon is heating and warming. It will help your digestive fire stay on track. It'll help the digestive juices be formed in the gut, so that the digestion doesn't produce any digestive toxins. So yeah, adding in some healthy fats, some warming spices, focusing on warm cooked food is going to be very crucial during this time. So raw cold food is always going to be very vata aggravating because it's cold, and raw food is mostly crunchy. So like salads, if you take for instance, salads are going to be very crunchy and very light, right? It's going to aggravate those same qualities in your body. So you don't want things that would aggravate the same qualities. You want things that would negate those qualities in your body. So warm cooked foods, like anything that is warm and cooked, okay, that would be very beneficial.
Hmm. I hope listeners can feel into how intuitive this is. Once you start sensing into the patterns, like our bodies know what they need, and our bodies are made of earth. And
Mhm.
there's this quality of resonance as you share, like, oh, yeah, I want that, or that sounds really good, or
Yes.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
For me, I have a very Pitta Vata constitution.
Mhm.
And one thing that's helpful for me that I've learned from you and your classes on the Science and Magic portal
Mhm.
is Abhyanga. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes, Abhyanga.
The oil massage at night.
Yes.
So I'll turn off the lights in my bathroom and I'll light a candle and I'll play some
Mhm.
beautiful music and I'll rub oil all over my body. And it feels so nourishing. And then I take
Mhm.
a hot shower, and
Yes.
it's become a ritual for me to get
Mhm.
really nourishing sleep. Could you
Yes,
explain a bit about this? Because it has been a game changer for me, and I've recommended
absolutely.
it to my clients too.
Absolutely. So Abhyanga is something, it's a lifestyle change that I advise everyone to do during fall. Abhyanga is nothing but oil massage. So it's called the self oil massaging technique. It's very simple, and if you do it every day, you'll see the benefits from it, especially during fall. So what you're supposed to do is grab any oil that you want. Any, it could be coconut oil, but the ideal oils to use during this time of season is sesame or sunflower. Okay, so but the non-toasted sesame one, not like the Chinese food one. Otherwise, you'll smell like Chinese food. Yeah, the golden sesame oil is what you need, and you're going to warm the oil up in a double boiler method, or you can hold the bottle of oil under warm water tap, and then just put some oil on your palms, rub the oil on your palms, and start massaging yourself from head to toe, or toe to head, whichever direction you want to go. Gently massage every part of your body. And when you're doing this is a very intuitive, very, very meditative process. Okay, you're not just oiling your body for the sake of oiling it. Now, what I usually tell people to do when they're doing Abhyanga is think of it as the oil is taking all the stressors and all the negativity is sticking to the oil, and then you're going to wash it off with a warm shower. So literally picturizing your like negative emotions sticking to the oil, your stressors of the day sticking to the oil, your chaos sticking to the oil, whatever is going on right now, just be very mindful. It should be a very mindful activity to do. And it's really good for sleep because oil will help release the stress and increase melatonin production in your body. So moving this prana, moving this energy around, massaging with the oil can certainly help this prana and this chaotic energy soothe down. And that's why when the vata is in its own place, in its own location, then it's not going to disturb you. It's going to say, okay, it's time for your bed. Bye bye. I'll see you tomorrow. So that this abhyanga really helps ground that vata, especially more during the fall. So maybe like just doing this simple ritual. It does not take more than 5 to 10 minutes, but every night you can see a big benefit happening from it. A very, very big yeah, shift or a change that would be seen if you do Abhyanga every night. Not just Abhyanga, I don't know, Amanda, if you've tried um putting oil in your nostrils and your ears during this time of year. This is so soothing. This is called ear oiling and nose oiling. It's called Nasya and Karna Purana in Ayurveda. So oil is a big part of fall. It's like oil externally, internally, eating with a lot of oil. So if you use a lot of oil in your cooking, but healthier oil, obviously, healthier oils and healthier fats like ghee. Ghee is so good, like so good. Just even if you take some oil on your pinky, like your little finger, and then just rub it in your nostrils and rub it in your ears before shower or before bed. That can also help soothe or ground that Vata energy down.
I
Mhm.
have come to look forward to it every night. And it's not just a benefit for my skin because my skin feels better.
Mhm.
My whole nervous system feels calm.
Mhm.
And I think for me too, it takes my energy out of my head, that frenetic,
Yes.
anxious energy, and it
Mhm.
gives me a chance to be in my body, stimulates my nervous system.
Yes.
I'm assuming the nervous system absorbs these healthy oils,
Absolutely.
these
Mhm.
fats, and
Your skin is the largest organ, and that's why we say oil, because your skin will absorb every bit of it, every ounce of it. And it's also contradictory to the dry and rough qualities that are going on your skin and your body right now, right? So if you're constipated around this time, 5 drops of castor oil in your belly button is something, for warm castor oil in your belly button is something that will dynamically change the health of your gut or your digestive tract or your colon. Yeah, so even try this out, like just 5 drops, but the oil should be warm. Remember, it's very important and very crucial. It should be warm. Anywhere you're putting oil, it should be warm. Okay, not hot. It should be warm. Um, yeah, so when 5 drops of castor oil in your belly button can help with constipation. Your major nerve endings are on your palms and on your soles of the feet. So if you massage that, you're sort of sending the right signals to your nervous system to calm down. And it's like, a babies, if you look at babies love routine. They love a sleep time routine. Like massaging them, giving them a shower with like some essential oils, and then feeding them and putting them to bed. This routine is so crucial for a baby. And we as adults just forget how important routine is because we're so busy in so many things. So routine, a ritual, having a bedtime routine is very, very important. Mhm.
so we have fall, autumn
Mhm.
is a lot of wind
Mhm.
and a lot of worry, anxiety, disorientation, chaos, movement, for better or
Yes.
for worse.
Mhm.
The antidotes being routine,
Yes.
rituals,
Mhm.
and eating warm cooked foods
Mhm.
and getting healthy fats will
Absolutely.
help this time.
Mhm.
Now, I would like to transition into, and I'm not sure what month it starts to be winter according to Ayurveda, but let's start to say the leaves are all falling off the tree. It
Mhm.
starts to look a little depressing. It's got like, we have more of a brown, gray
Yeah.
outer, and
Yeah.
the days get darker and darker and darker. And
Yes.
there's maybe that first snow and everything's still and frozen. And this is
Yes.
really where I think a lot of people start to struggle and feel
Mhm.
claustrophobic. How would
Yes.
you describe winter, just kind of in this short,
Mhm.
now that we have this framework of these elements, what's happening?
Yes. So, as I said, during fall, it's all about Vata, right? It's all chaos, irregularity. Now, what happens is your body, as I said, slowly is trying to understand what is going on outside your mind, your body, your emotions. Now, Ayurveda divides winter into 2 parts. It says there is early winter and then there is late winter. Okay. Now, early winter is when it's like fall is almost over and it hasn't snowed yet, but it's getting really chilly. Okay. That's the early winter. And during this winter, Vata is very much still high. Okay. We have solid Vata, but little undertones of Kapha. So now Kapha is creeping in slowly, but it's not there yet. Okay. But during this time, Vata people are still struggling because of the darkness outside, because everything is changing and it's getting darker and darker, and days are getting shorter and colder, cooler, even more and more cooler. So an important thing to remember is whenever my Vata people come to me during this time of year, I only give them one piece of advice is remember impermanence is the only permanent thing in life.
Mhm.
Okay, remember, this too will change, this too shall change. Just you have to sail through this time with immense amount of strength and immense amount of solar energy that you can find within you. Okay, because tapping into that solar plexus, tapping into the solar energy can certainly benefit us, because there is no sun outside. So we need some warmth, some solar energy for us from within. Okay. So for a Vata person, not for everyone actually, but more so for a Vata person, tapping into the solar plexus during this time of year can very much help. So doing just 10 to 15 sun salutations can change, like literally change your mental and physical structure, or your mental and physical health. Because, over movement during this time is also not good. So, because as I said, it's all Vata, 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 too much movement is
Mhm.
also not good. So, maybe dialing down your marathon runs, or dialing down your like miles and miles together of running, it might actually benefit you, rather than making things worse in your system. So folk, now is the time when you have to actually look towards like calmer workouts, that would make you calm and peaceful, and that would increase your prana. So prana is something that we talk about a lot in Ayurveda. Now prana is nothing but your life force energy. Okay, every human being, everything that is living on this planet has something in it that makes it living, right? A rock would not have prana in it, but a human being would have prana in it.
Mhm.
Prana is your life force energy, something that is moving in you, this energy that is keeping you alive. Now, whenever it gets darker outside, prana is the first thing that gets affected. Okay. So your life force energy slowly starts going down, and it like starts sinking down. So the main thing that you have to focus on is improving this prana and increasing this prana in your body. And the important things that can help with increasing prana is pranayamas. Okay, so moving this prana energy around is going to be very beneficial. So ujjayi, bhasrika, more heating, like not cooling breaths, more heating breaths, like Kapalabhati, or alternate nostril breathing, or Brahmari, like the humming bee breath. All these breaths can be very, very beneficial. Okay. Now, as we're entering the early winter, it starts getting really darker and sort of depressing. It's because that kapha is creeping in. It's like, hey, it's making you realize that I'm there, I'm existing. Okay, so it's where that kapha is naturally creeping in, but vata is there, so they're trying to work with each other, but somehow they cannot. Okay, so it's like vata is saying, hey kapha, move, do your thing, but kapha is like, no, I just don't feel like doing anything. So it's that tug of war that is happening in your body. And that's why whenever you feel like this dull energy creeping in, try to focus more on like activating pranayamas, like Kapalbhati. Ujjayi would be when you're feeling anxious, whereas Bhasrika would be when you're feeling really low or dull. Okay. Another thing, as I said, so activating your solar plexus is going to be very important. And um, something for your mind. So doing like sun meditation. So meditation that increases this warmth in your mind or warmth in your spirit. So sun meditation, focusing more on like uh wearing even colors, wearing warmer colors during winter can certainly help. Like the color you are wearing, you're wearing the perfect color for fall and winter. So wearing bright red color, bright colors like pink, orange, yellow, even if you look at those colors. So maybe like painting with those colors during this time can certainly evoke that warmth energy or that fiery energy within you. Okay, so early winter, and then we are still keeping the diet the same. We're not changing much in our diet because Vata and Kapha need pretty much the similar diet. So warm cooked food, you focus more on soups, more cooked grains, more cooked especially in fall, focus more on grounding foods like grains, heavier root vegetables, things like that. Now, when we enter late winter, is when it's actually starting to snow and things are being condensed and things are being stable and stagnated, congested with snow. It's like so much water element out there, is that you don't want to add too much water element to the water element in your body. This is the late winter, is a time when your kapha is at the peak, at the max, and then this kapha is trying to pull everything down, because kapha is made of water and earth element. It's very grounding, it's very depressing, it's very like, it'll say, hey, just don't get up, just sit in one place and not do anything. So to balance this energy out, it's going to be very important to do things opposite to kapha. So now late winter is a good time when you want to actually move your body. So doing some high intensity workouts, but not for Vata constitution, for and every other constitution. Even Vata can do some high intensity, but they have to be very mindful of how much intense the workout needs to be. It should not be depleting in nature, it should be strengthening in nature. So the workout should not deplete that person. It should, so Ayurveda says always do Ardha Shakti Vyayam. Ardha Shakti means using half your strength. So always work out using only half your strength, so you know that you're not depleting your healthier tissues. Okay, so this is especially more important for Vata people in late winter as well, and during from fall to late winter. Now, this late winter time, you have to focus more on like thinner, brothier soups, okay, rather than grounding vegetables, okay? So maybe doing more like barley vegetable soup, or focusing more on chicken broth or bone broth with ghee would be very, very beneficial. So looking to the light and thin quality during this time can certainly be very beneficial. Um, Again, focusing more on warming spices, so cooking with garlic, ginger, onion, um, cooking with some pungent spices like chili pepper, turmeric, black pepper can be very, very beneficial during the late winter time. Okay.
I love this distinction between early and late winter, because I definitely can feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people suffer from seasonal affective disorder, or even
Yes.
like the winter blues.
Mm-hmm.
And you've offered some amazing tips about just get the body moving, get the
Yes.
body breathing, feel into your inner fire. And
Mm-hmm.
for those who don't know what a solar plexus is, it's your core. So feel into your core,
It's your
feel into
belly.
your fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's your belly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what would you say, or how would you work with someone who is really suffering from seasonal affective disorder? What does Ayurveda have to offer for
Yeah.
that?
So seasonal affective disorder is nothing but, again, very low prana in your system. And again, as I said, working on increasing that life force energy is going to be very crucial. But another important thing when it comes to SAD, I see people affected with seasonal affective disorder more so in kapha constitution. Okay. So a person who has more water, naturally has more water and earth element, have more chances of developing SAD, is because they are already very grounded. They're already very heavy. But an important thing to remember about kapha constitution is kapha people are very social. They love human connection. And what is taken away from them during this time is that human connection. Okay, so human connection is very, very important for a kapha person especially during winters. So maybe calling up a friend and just going to hang out at her place, or just doing something that will create this human connection, or doing some virtual calls with your friends, or going to a class somewhere, or going to a painting event or something like that, can, even if they're just surrounded by people, can affect their mental and emotional level to bounce, honestly. So this is something that I always tell my clients, is to tap into that human connection in whichever way you can. You could go out together for maybe snowboarding, or maybe somewhere with your friends, okay, or with your family. This is a really good time to, and it's so interesting that all our festivals or
Mm.
all our things are during winter. Why? There's a reason why. It's because we try to come together during this time, and we are trying to form that human connection again, because which is being lost during winter. Yeah,
Mhm.
so Thanksgiving is all about family coming together and making that human connection. Christmas is nothing but celebrating life. So it's like so many. The Halloween, we wear costumes, go for trick or treat. It's all because it's reminding us that you need humans to survive. We are a social animal, right? And we need social connection. So that is something that I always tell people who are struggling with a seasonal affective disorder. And then obviously the blue light and all of those resources are out there, like using the blue light, that can help with the seasonal affective disorder. Another thing that I've observed is just lighting a candle and doing prataka can be so beneficial. Like
Mm.
just lighting a candle in your house and staring at it for, say, like 5 to 10 minutes, not continuously, but you can close your eyes and keep staring at it. What this does is this increases, from an Ayurvedic standpoint, increases your adochak pitta. So it increases the pitta in your eyes, that the pitta that lives in your eyes, and in turn it will increase the pitta in your body. Okay, so it will increase that fire element in your body. So even the simple trick, like just lighting a candle, whichever candle you have, you don't need any fancy candle, and just like staring at the flame can really, really be so beneficial. People say our soul is like the flame of a candle. And when you're staring at a candle, you're literally like staring into yourself, is what
Mm.
it uh notifies, or say signifies. I mean, I'm sorry, I said dignifies. Signifies. It literally signifies tapping into your soul or looking within you.
Mm.
So that is a really great form of meditation. So yeah, just doing that. And also some herbs that can help during this time of the year are ashwagandha is something that really helps with seasonal affective disorder. Brahmi is something, gotu kola is something that would help during this time of the year. So yeah, certain herbs helping with yourself with certain herbs can also help. Tulsi, holy basil is also a really good herb to take during this time of year. We call tulsi as um it's called as a rasayana in Ayurveda. Rasayana means it's a rejuvenator. It will like rejuvenate every system in your body and rejuvenate every tissue in your body. I don't know if you've ever tried tulsi before, holy basil tea, but holy basil is so warming and so nourishing. It's very soothing. So using certain herbs and spices can also help activate that prana. The tejas is what we call in Ayurveda. Tejas is nothing but this fiery energy that wants to keep you going, or that motivates you to do things. So the stages is very activated by all these herbs. So you could do ginger tea, you could do tulsi tea, you could do tulsi ginger turmeric tea. Yeah, so all of these teas can certainly help increase that prana and increase that tejas in you. Mhm.
Beautiful advice. And I would say that if you're someone who knows that you have a hard time in late winter, even early winter, to be proactive about these things
Yes.
now when you might have a bit more energy. So
Mhm.
looking up perhaps a community you want to get involved with, or
Absolutely.
joining a space where you can move your body, a dance studio, a yoga
Mhm.
studio, a gym, and
Mhm.
signing up for the classes now.
Yes.
Because once it feels heavy, once that prana is gone, it's really hard to
You're
get
not
up.
going to do it.
Yeah, it's so hard to get up and do it. And even if
Yes.
it's planned ahead of time, it will still be hard. But
Mhm.
if you lean into community, so having an accountability person, a group of
Yes.
friends
Mhm.
to help get you to that place, to that thing. And
Yes.
similar as in setting up a routine in the fall, it kind of sounds like if you're someone who struggles with moving in the winter, getting that structure going ahead of time. Buy your ginger tea, your tulsi holy basil tea.
Yes.
Get a plan of action for yourself to keep
Mhm.
that prana moving.
Mm.
That's what I do as far as for me in the fall is I
Mhm.
know that I will start to feel anxious. I'm
Mhm.
prone to having more
Mhm.
frenetic energy. And so I'm proactive about my routine. I'm
Mhm.
proactive about my oil massage, about
Mhm.
warm foods. And I
Mhm.
know ahead of time so that I'm not sitting in the middle of October swirling in a tornado, not sure what to do. I already have my plan.
Right,
So I
right,
want to
absolutely right.
yeah, I want to encourage people listening, if something's resonating with you, do it now. Like
Yes,
figure it out
yes,
now,
yes,
set a plan, go to the grocery store. If you're
yes.
inspired now, do it. And then you'll feel the results. I promise you.
Mhm.
Some of
Mhm.
this stuff sounds simple in a way because we're used to over complicating things,
Yes.
but it's profound.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely right, Amanda. It is. I mean, it's something that will change your like mental, physical, emotional health to like you would think, oh, teas, I know what teas are, it's like so simple. It's such a simple change. I can do this anytime. But the power of now, is so important. Doing the thing right then and there when you know it's going to help you is going to be very crucial, because when the kapha sets in, kapha is not going to let you do things. It's going to be like, oh, tea, maybe let's do it in summer, or maybe let's do it in spring, you don't
Yeah.
need a tea right now. And it's so hard. It keeps getting harder as the weather gets cooler and cooler to go out and grocery shop too, so this is like a right time to, like, it will motivate you to do things now so that you can see the benefits of it later. Yes, so absolutely. And then, as I said, another important thing is during late winter, try to focus more on not watching anything negative or not
Mm,
listening anything negative too. So there are so many like scary movies or during this time of the year, like Halloween. Uh, Try not to like indulge in them, because they will, no matter how good they are, they will subtly affect your prana. They will subtly affect your negativity. Like, it's like increases like, right? So the more negative you watch, the more negativity you hear, the more negative you are going to be, right? So another important thing is to not listen to anything depressing, like all, the other day I was watching this documentary about like how this person got kidnapped and stuff, and I'm like, why did I do this to myself? It's like, for days and days together I was thinking about it, and I'm like, these things affect me to my core, and it affects me. Like,
mm,
I'm an empath, so I just cannot, I mean, I cannot take it, and I still watch it. I'm like, why did you do this to yourself? So yeah, remembering to not read anything negative. Always read something that will motivate you, something that will keep you going, something that will create this human connection. um yeah, try to focus on things that will increase your prana and not decrease it.
mm,
Okay, so
mm.
that is something that is very important too.
Such good advice.
Mhm.
So early winter, just a quick clarification, is that November, December?
Yeah, I would say November, December, until it actually starts like snowing and the snow starts accumulating on the ground, is when it's early winter. So I would say maybe in Minnesota, at least, it starts snowing actually in late December, right? Like late last 1 or 2 week of December is when
Okay.
we will actually have about a feet of snow on the ground. So yeah, that is what I would call it as late winter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the start of late winter, and
Okay.
until then I would say it's about early winter.
Okay.
Mhm.
And if someone lives in a more temperate climate, like let's say California, are they
Mhm.
still affected by these seasonal shifts?
Not as much as we would, because here in Minnesota, in the Midwest, the seasons are very distinct.
Mm,
They're very distinct borders. And the temperature difference is also very high. Like in summers, we have temperatures ranging from 85, right? So from ranging from like 70s to some days are in hundreds, right? Or some days are in 90s.
mm,
Like, and directly from 85, you're put in like negative of Fahrenheit. It's just too much for your body to handle, because it's such a drastic shift. It's like something that is exactly opposite to each other. So no, a person living in Texas, Florida, California, southern states would not be impacted so much so by the change in the seasons, but still following this routine and this ritual can help, because even though their temperature differences are not that much, but still the weather is changing, and still it's getting cooler, and still wherever they live, it's still getting cooler, right? Yeah, so absolutely following this will still help.
Great. You have just gifted us with this little user manual for how to survive autumn and winter and how to feel more ease. And I just so appreciate you for taking the time and energy to share this knowledge with us. It's just a gift. I'm curious for you. So one thing that is a common thread on this podcast is that high achievers like to follow it and learn about how to create more ease. And so I always like to ask this question of, how do you take care of yourself? It could be stemmed from Ayurveda, but what's a ritual that you do or something that just works for you to find self-care and ease in your schedule and your life?
So I am a mom to two kids. My older is 6 years old and my younger is a year old. So I recently, like a year ago, I delivered a baby. So yeah, since then, since I have had my second, my routine, my schedule, my life has just fallen apart. It's like, boy, what do I do now? But the one thing I stick to, I'm not kidding, the one thing I stick to, which keeps me stable minded and which keeps me on ground, which keeps me grounded all the time, is my practice of meditation. So I don't know if you know, I'm an Art of Living teacher. So Art of Living is a spiritual organization, but I've been trained by them to teach meditation and teach certain spirituality principles. So we have our sadhana is what we call, and that sadhana is something that I never ever miss. That is something that I always see to it that it's, so I treat meditation, and I always tell my clients, treat meditation as a shower for your soul. Okay, it's so important to keep your foundation, your core healthy, because if that is clouded with so many things, with so many stressors of the day, you're not going to shine bright, right? You're not going to be stable. Even little things will start affecting you that should not affect at all, so keeping this prana and this soul shining bright is going to be very important. So one thing that I do is, I, no matter what, whether it's day, it's night, weekend, weekday, it doesn't matter, if my baby is up, if my baby is sleeping, no matter what, I start my day with 20-25 minutes of meditation. That is something, that is one self-care tip that I will give everyone. You can do any guided meditation no matter what, but 20 to 25 minutes of some breath work and some meditation is so beneficial. It's like it'll change the level of well-being that you have, because your mind and body are very deeply connected. You cannot separate them. If your body is hurting, your mind will be hurting, and vice versa. So to keep your mind and body and all levels of existence healthy, meditation is one thing that I do. And other is obviously taking care of my gut. I try to cook as much as possible by myself as I can, but sometimes life gets to you, you have to order outside, but that is fine. But I try to cook as much, obviously Ayurvedically, for this season as much as I can, because cooking food by yourself, that food will get to know you before it goes in your body. It's so important to cook food by yourself, because your emotions are affecting the food that is going in your body. Your food is living, it's not dead. It, even though it's chopped off the branches, it's very much living. If you plant a seed from apple or orange, it will regrow, right? It's because it has this life force energy still alive within it. And because that food is alive, it understands your touch, it understands what you're feeling, it understands your emotions. So whenever I chop things also, I'll say, oh, I love you, onion, I love you. It might sound really silly, but but that's what I do. Like, I love cooking, and I love what I make, and I pour my heart out in cooking. So that is something that I would advise. So cook yourself as much as you can, because the more you cook, the more it'll be benefit, it'll go in your body and it'll know you before it goes in your body. Um, yeah, so those are two things that I absolutely do. I mean, whether it's day or night, whatever season it is, yeah, those two things have helped me sail through these transitions and up until now. So I'm just, yeah, and sometimes if I get time, I'll do Abhyanga. But with two kids and their school routine and their school schedule and their classes and their so many things, there's like so many things going on. So I barely get time for myself, but I see to it that I take out time for myself. So you have to see to it that you at least give yourself 30 minutes, whether 30 minutes to 1 hour, to do something for yourself. Like sometimes I would, like I tend not to buy Halloween costumes for my kids because I love creativity. So something, I always make their costumes at home. So that is something, that is a time for me. That is something that I'm dedicating to myself. So finding time to do something yourself, that is for yourself, is going to be very important. So if you're creative, paint something, or maybe write something, or if you like writing, or read a book, just sit in a corner and read a book, or do something for yourself for 30 minutes in a day can be so soothing. Yeah.
I have so many more questions I want to ask you, but we're coming up on the hour. So you are just a
Yeah.
wealth of knowledge and inspiration. You have a few classes on the Science and Magic portal.
Yes.
You've offered one for each season with wisdom about that season.
Yes.
If a listener was interested in working with you outside of the Science and Magic portal, can you describe what that might look like?
Yes. So I offer one-on-one Ayurvedic consults is what I offer. And an Ayurvedic consult is a very in-depth analysis of your entire being, is what we call this. So we check every level of your existence, your physical, mental, your emotional, your spiritual, your psychological, every level of your existence, to connect the dots as to where what is going wrong, because these layers are very much deeply connected. So once we figure that out, we also figure out your specific constitution, what elements you're made of. We figure out your Agni, that is what type of metabolism, what type of digestion do you have. We figure out your diet. We go over every little aspect of your living, like what you eat, when you sleep, what do you do in your free time. There are so many, how you sleep, do you dream, every little aspect of you. And then we'll like dig deeper and deeper to see if there are any imbalances in any of your systems. If there are, then I usually put them on a specific diet and a specific lifestyle regimen. And then if they're open to taking herbs, herbal recommend, you can see there are so many herbs behind me. So herbal recommendations is something that I would mix up herbs, and I'll give them herbs for a few months to take, or a few weeks, depending on how chronic or acute the symptom is. Yeah, and then usually the follow-ups are about 5 to 6 weeks out. The initial usually takes about 2 hours because it's an in-depth analysis. Follow-ups are usually an hour. And then I used to provide panchakarma therapies, that are detoxifying therapies in Ayurveda. Since last year and since COVID hit, I have stopped doing that. But I'm soon, in the near future, I'm planning on buying my own space or renting it out, and having my own space, having my own clinic, and then I would start offering those therapies as well. So yeah, it's going to be some fun in the future, but for now I'm offering virtual and in-person one-on-one consults.
Great. And I will link your website and information below or in the show notes for anyone who is interested.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Oh, and one more thing, Amanda. I also have a YouTube channel. So if anyone wants to listen to my videos, yeah, I have videos on random things, like Ayurveda on tofu, Ayurveda on alcohol, Ayurveda on coffee. So there's so much knowledge out there on my YouTube channel. So go subscribe. They're really short videos, about 10-minute videos. So it would not take a lot of time, but yeah, a lot of information on there. So my YouTube channel is Vanashree Ayurveda. And you can also find me easily on YouTube. Okay.
That's great. Yeah, this video will be posted on YouTube, and we have a lot of YouTubers who follow. So
Yeah.
definitely I'll include that as well. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time and being so generous with all of this information. I think it's going to help so many people find more ease and understanding in this seasonal transition that's so difficult for so many. So thank you.
Yes. Oh, you're so welcome. And I hope everyone who is listening has gotten something that struck to them, and they are going to use it in their routine pretty soon here. So yeah, I'm always there to help. Reach out to me if you need any help in your healing journey. And thank you for inviting me, Amanda. It's great to be on the Science and Magic portal.